I asked him to go to the title screen, so the stream is running.
Okay.
So, Chaos Princess, come on over to the podium. Yep.
I can see my head flapping.
Okay.
Whenever you notice it.
Just give me a hot second.
Dave, can I have a secondary monitor, please?
Real quick so that you can see. So just click the mirror button.
Excellent. Thank you.
Oh, it's not working.
Can you?
Weird. Oh, give me a second.
All right, go ahead and start the swoop.
Spawn that again.
Okay.
We could use the different mode.
Try a different.
The camera.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Maker Talk presented by the educators of Resonite.
There we go.
And I'd like to introduce you to Jason Moore, our moderator today, who will introduce you to our wonderful presenter. Take it away.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to the EduSci meeting room. I'm Jason Moore, and today I'm excited to be moderating this latest installment of our Maker Talk series, where we invite creators from across the Resonite community to share their work and take us on a deep dive into their process. Today's presentation features a highly talented Resonite creator, Christina Chaos Princess Kine, who will share the best of her research findings regarding the technical setup and immersive design for her quantum bar project. Before we begin, just a few quick notes. You can find a seat anywhere here in the room. If you'd like to be more vertical, please choose one of our aerial platforms. That way you won't block the view of all of our invisible cameras positioned throughout the space, because yes, we are live streaming to the educators of Resonite Twitch, and this video will eventually be archived and available in a few days on both Educators of Resonite YouTube and Metaverse Academia YouTube. There are applause sticks by the doorway there. Please feel free to use them. If we get too crowded, I will ask everybody to switch to a performant avatar. I see some of you had already done that. That's a pretty good idea because our frames are a little bit on the low side. So if you have a performant avatar that you can switch into, great. Otherwise, we also have a performant avatar spawner out there by the entrance. You don't need to be muted during this presentation. We like hearing your laughs or your positive reactions. But if your environment starts to get too noisy, then please temporarily mute yourself. Today's presentation will last about 30 minutes with time for Q&A at the end. If you're watching on Twitch, you can type your questions into the chat. We can see them here. And if you're with us in person, just raise your hand, paw, wing, or tentacle, and I will call on you. Please go into shout mode when you ask your question so that everybody in the room and our Twitch viewers can hear your question. After the presentation, everyone is also invited to a casual world hop to go see this amazing work. I'd like to quickly thank everybody in the greater EduSci community here who have all worked hard to make and share their work, to answer questions in the Resonite Discord, and importantly, for everybody who worked to bring this maker space to life after we migrated here. A special thanks to Niels Modek, who serves as one of the founding members of the community and who made the original and who inspires us all to putting these talks on. But really a huge thanks to our producer, Miss Molly, our director, Dave the Turner, Laser Keats, Sticks, and all the other people who've helped redesign, optimize, and update this amazing world. And thanks also to Zizzle, who designed and created our incredible multicam switcher that we use to broadcast these talks. Now, I'd like to introduce our speaker. Christina Chaos Princess Kine holds a diploma in feature film and television from HFF Munich and a master's in digital narratives from IFS Holm, where she created a GPT-3 powered chatbot in social VR as her thesis project. From 2020 to 2022, she was Chief Marketing Officer and Events Manager at Tivoli Cloud VR, and she currently teaches virtual reality at Fresenius University and IFS Holm and spends much of her time traveling the world, showcasing her work at a wide variety of festivals and conferences. Now, a lot has happened since Chaos gave her first talk on her AI research for the EduSci community back in February of 2022, still back on the other platform at that time. Thanks to that original talk and the vibrant spirit of the EduSci community, Chaos was able to bring together a skilled and inspiring team of builders and coders. Shout out to Gilafex, Circuitry, Alien in Area 51, and Creolis. Within just 2 months, that team built the Quantum Bar, a social VR space designed for engaging AI-driven conversations within the social VR universe. Through their fruitful collaboration, launched the first ever GPT-3 powered chatbot in social VR, but also implemented other innovative AI functionalities, such as sentiment colored lighting and the automatic handout of summary cards after each conversation. The Quantum Bar had its world premiere at Immersive Tech Week in Rotterdam on November 30th, 2022, which just so happens to be the original launch date of ChatGPT. Today, the Quantum Bar continues to thrive. It hosts a mingle on the last Friday of every month, welcoming visitors from across the globe. In parallel to building the Quantum Bar, Xaos was also hard at work in desktop mode, researching and writing her Masters of Arts thesis, creating a GPT-driven chatbot for social virtual reality. Her research covers the technical setup of AI chatbots in social VR, immersive design for virtual environments, and the psychological and ethical implications of using AI to create companion bots. Just recently, Xaos's MA thesis was published by Transcript Verlag. The Quantum Bar even made the front page of the print edition, and a free PDF version will be available for download soon. So, if you have the applause sticks, and if you don't, go grab some, because we're going to be applauding Xaos all talk long. Please help me welcome to the stage Xaos Princess.
Thank you so much, Jason. Thank you so much, Molly. Thank you so much, Sticks, Sizzle, Dave, EduSci community, Metaverse Academia. I'm like over to be here. And yeah, I want to dig in with a anecdote of gratitude, which is about the whole original development of the Quantum Bar. So we all know in 2020 the hit. But in the same year, I also applied and got the place for a digital narratives Master of Arts study program at the IFS International Film School Cologne. And that happened on Zoom. So I spent like all of the pandemic either on Zoom or in social VR, namely back then on Tivoli Cloud, which was the successor of High Fidelity, for which I was CMO and events manager. And at like the very first days of our studies, like in spring 2020, we all already had to dedicate ourselves to a thesis project. And there it was, GPT-3 was just like becoming accessible for like a select few who were whitewashed enough not to do anything nasty with it, because they didn't have no alignment, no weighting, no content filter yet. And on the other hand, I had like this CMO position on Tivoli Cloud, where like my main job was like drag users to the platform and keep them there as long as possible. We were like three girls, like Caitlin Meeks, Marquis Depres, myself as CMO, the other two were CEO and CTO, and we were like three girls. And we saw like we had like a schedule to be online all the time, and it was a bit also like of a waste of time and talent just to hang out in an empty welcome world in case some user joined. So for Tivoli, I wanted to have something to keep users engaged, because like if you have like one or two or three users, as soon as you have like three users in a world, you have like a little crowd which people dare to hop into. Like if it's only two users, it's like more oh, maybe I crash a date, so people don't dare to jump into a conversation of 2 users, but 3. The trick. And so I was like, okay, maybe put like 1 and 1 together, like have GPT appear in an avatar and enable an audio-based conversation that like gives users an engagement possibility and then hopefully keeps users on the platform. And so, yeah, my thesis project was like clear from 2020 spring, summer on. I'm gonna design a GPT-3 driven chatbot for social VR, namely for Tivoli. And then, yeah, the year 21 went by nicely, and I did a lot of academic prep work for the whole chatbot project, and we built together with our quantum bomb Marius Creolis Anger, we built a prototype on Tivoli, and everything was running fine until in January of 2022, suddenly like my thesis production writing clock started ticking. So that was like when I really locked it into and promised them, like, if I don't deliver until May a minimum viable product, I'm going to fail my masters. Yeah, what was not so nice was that due to the metaverse hype created by Facebook, that was like backfiring on us as like a small 3 girls show platform, because everybody was like, oh, yet another metaverse platform, another vaporware that doesn't work. And we were getting all the disappointment from users who had been at like these many little metaverse projects which didn't work. Ours did work, but of course it was not very good innovation. Before I could look twice, Tivoli closed shop. And then I sat there and I was like, okay, I got 4 months time, need a minimum viable product, and there's only one platform else where I can do that, because it's not possible in VR chat, where you have to attach anything to the avatar and they erase anti-cheat filters. Somnium was much too NFT, so I like my dream home world for our GPT-3 driven chatbot was the Resonite predecessor, but I only had like dabbled with some homeworld building there, but didn't know a thing about building on the predecessor platform. Then I approached, because I knew Jason was developing LA skill there, and was like, dear Jason, I don't know if you still remember that.
Of
like,
course I remember.
I desperately need.
I said anything is possible here. Come over here and build here.
Exactly, and this was like the wonderful like get together also with the EduSci community, because I didn't know many community members yet. And then Jason invited me to give like the very first talk back then on like my academic prep work. I was so lucky to get a wonderful Resonite team on board, namely Gillific, Circuitry, Alien in Area 651. And with them together, we managed to build not only a minimum viable product, but like a release version, which like couldn't be better in my eyes. And what I have now is my with which I also traveled the world, about creating a GPT-3-driven chatbot for social virtual reality, which is the best of my master's thesis, which was a research creation thesis in digital narratives. And now comes like the actual talk, which also includes some of the stories we've told already. But let's go. First off, so my real life name is Christina Kinne, but in VR I'm Chaos Princess, or Chaos in short, and I'm the project lead and creative director of the Quantum Bar. This is how I look like. This is how you can reach me, or the Quantum Bar. And in the first half of my life, I was a filmmaker with an art school diploma from Film School Munich. And but ever since reading Neuromancer in my high school days, I've been dreaming of like living and working in VR and having like friends from, I don't want to know where they live. I want to have friends and be with them in one shared space. And I dreaming of like, oh, maybe like in Neuromancer, the protagonist is talking to his old mentor as an AI. So maybe that would be wonderful if that was possible too. But yeah, until the 2010 years, that was still like far out science fiction. So I never dared to dream that I would live to see consumer VR become possible. But in 2016, everything exploded. So we got robotics, gene splicing, and also VR. And I immediately got the or pre-ordered the HTC Vive and jumped into VR, and was so lucky to quite soon discover High Fidelity, which was Philip Rosedale's baby, like the successor of Second Life, but open source, distributed hosting, and in VR. And I earned my first spores there and learned like 3D building and did like content creation there, and also like some events, and was really happy on hi-fi. But yeah, unfortunately, like 3 months before the pandemic started, which would have been their state-of-the-art use case, High Fidelity pivoted to doing 3D audio only. And so I jumped on board with Tivoli Cloud VR. That was like Caitlin Meeks, who was like a generalist and community manager on High Fidelity. And she picked up the open source code, and we tried to survive, to keep High Fidelity spiritually alive with Tivoli Cloud VR. Still, like I told before, in early 2022, they ran out of air too and decided to close shop. And I was like in this desperate conflict situation with how to get my master thesis ready. But then thanks to the wonderful Resonite and EduSci and Metaverse Academia community, I really could gather a team and release our Quantum Bar in 2022, at the very, very same day, November 30th, 2022, when ChatGPT was released. And let's dig into what the Quantum Bar actually is. So our tagline is serving engaging AI conversations in social VR. And in their user journey, the user arrives in the quantum bar, which lives on the best digital universe in the metaverse, namely Resonite. And now I have to wait till somebody closes the inspector. Now I see more. And as soon as people arrive in the quantum bar, they can approach our bartender, who does a friendly greeting and starts an uplifting conversation with the user on whatever is on the user's mind. And we also use sentiment detection to steer the lights and colors in the bar. Okay, my huge apologies. Something is weird with my slides. Be right there on the right slide. So we use sentiment detection to steer the lights and colors in the bar. So like happy and funny topics will get you a more pink atmosphere, whereas more serious areas of conversation will get you a more blue lights and colors. And after 10 minutes, or if the user says bye-bye by themselves, the conversation is over, and the gifts the user with a summary card of the previous conversation. Like in VR, you can save it into your inventory. And if we showcase in real life, we print it out on a little travel printer to take away. And here I have a video which shows the bartender life in action quite nicely. So I have to say, like, shooting with AI is like shooting with kids or animals. You never know when you're going to get a good take. And for our introduction video to the VR Awards, where we got on the shortlist, the bartender did his best take ever. So this is always my favorite showcase video.
Hello. I am the bartender of the Quantum Bar. How can I help you?
Hello, my name is Chaos Princess. I'd like to nominate the Quantum Bar to this year's VR Awards. And now I wonder if you could help me introduce the Quantum Bar to our judges.
Of course, I would be delighted to help you introduce the Quantum Bar for the VR Awards. The Quantum Bar is a virtual reality experience where visitors can learn about AI and its applications in the real world. We aim to give our guests an immersive digital experience by combining advanced artificial intelligence technology with creative design and storytelling. Our goal is to show that with great AI comes great responsibility, and that intelligent machines have many potential uses, both positive and destructive, depending on how they are used.
Wow, thank you so much for this amazing description. And who are you exactly? And what are you doing here?
I'm a GPT-3 bartender at the Quantum Bar. My job is to help our guests get the best experience possible by providing information about AI and keeping them entertained during their stay here at the Quantum Bar.
Exactly is the Quantum Bar located?
The Quantum Bar is located in the Xaos metaverse. It is accessible through various digital platforms such as Steam, VR, or the standalone app, and virtual reality headsets.
Thank you so much. And please keep your fingers crossed that we see each other soon again in Rotterdam at the VR Awards. And while I drink to this, I say bye-bye.
Absolutely. I wish you the best of luck with your nomination and hope to see you at the VR Awards in Rotterdam. Cheers and goodbye. This is a summary of our chat. Re-enter the talking spot if you want to talk to me again.
That's so cool.
Thank you so much, and see you soon in Rotterdam.
Yeah, I thanks to the bartender. So yeah, hope you like it, and yeah, let's dig into the technical setup. Like, how is the quantum bar actually running under its hood? So, as I told you before, we're based on GPT-3, the generative pre-trained transformer 3 by OpenAI, which is their third generation language prediction model of said name. It uses machine learning to compose text, and GPT-3, the granddaddy of LLMs, was trained on 175 billion learning parameters, which is like peanuts compared to the model nowadays, which are trained on around 1.8 trillion parameters. But back then, that was like a quantum leap in LLM technology, because before we only knew GPT-2, which like with lots of tool thinking could be interpreted like a Kafka poem, but GPT-3 suddenly threw you back like answers that made sense, and this like still gives me goosebumps, and therefore it was like, yeah, my also like my personal super big wish to be able to chat to GPT-3 like on voice, face to face, and not do like the typing playground back OpenAI to get beta access thing. And we were like, yeah, so lucky with the university to get academic access, which enabled it. And what GPT-3 and or later models and basically all the AI tech currently have in common is the secret sauce that it can be prompted in human language. And our creators and artists don't need to learn to code in order to create this artwork with AI. And so that was also like very useful for me because I'm still a non-coder, but Creolis set up a really nice setup JSON, and I can enter my values there and my prompts there, and it works like a charm, and I don't have to write one line of code. So thank you, AI. Thank you, Creolis, for that. And here's our signal flow, which also explains like the lag we sometimes experience in the conversation, which like after you see the journey of the signal becomes extremely bearable and okay. So for showcase purposes, I placed our user in New York City. So we pick up the audio signal, which the user in New York City, which Jason talks into his microphone, send it back to our backend laptop, which stands next to me in Munich, Germany. There, the file is sent to San Francisco, where OpenAI does the speech-to-text translation with Whisper, sends us back a text file to Munich, Then the backend laptop in Munich, or Creolis's wonderful Python program, does the fine prompting of our text file, which still contains like the user's dialog line. This text file is then sent to OpenAI yet again, where GPT-3 completes it with its answer, then sends us back a answer text file, which then is read out by the Windows Systems Voice of David to be pumped into the microphone and sent as an audio file back to the user in New York. And like concerning that, the signal travels like 3 times across the ocean and back. A lag of like 2 seconds is like super short, in my opinion. But yeah, the technical setup is only the construction on which everything is based. But what was even more important was like the psychological and ethical research I did, because before I dug into this whole development phase, which was like I had lots of respect of that, because there was like no prior art of a AI chatbot in VR. And I was like, is that even feasible? I want to have like a emotional connection to an AI-driven chatbot. Does this even work, or will I drive everybody crazy and waste a lot of time and money only for that to not work out? So therefore, I researched what kind of chatbots have been there before, and I found Eliza. Eliza is the first chatbot ever, and it has been designed by the German-American computer scientist Joseph Weizenbaum at the MIT in the 1960s. And the thing was that Joseph Weizenbaum only wanted to have some cool software to showcase the capabilities of his back then supercomputer, which lived in a wooden shelf and probably still used like whole cards to save stuff. And he wanted like to show the scientific and researcher community what that computer is able to do. He decided to program a chatbot named Eliza. Oops. Oh, apologies. My slides always go missing. 1 second. Jump to the slide. And yeah, so Joseph called his chatbot Eliza after Eliza Doolittle of the play Pygmalion, which is like a street girl who learns to act and talk with an upper class accent. And the main functionality of Eliza was based on Rogerian synthesis, which is a user statement back to the user a question. Like if the user goes, "My wife drives me crazy," it would go, "Why is your wife so agitated?" And the thing probably was relatively easy to program back then. And so it was like rule-based and worked on keywords. And the showcase was a super success. But Joseph Weizenbaum didn't want to have anything to do with chatbots ever anymore because of the Eliza effect, which is that all people who got into contact with the old Eliza were like immediately formed a relationship with it. Like Joseph Weizenbaum's secretary told him to leave the office because she needs her private space with Eliza, and even scientists and like super badass psychiatrists called it to be like the future of psychoanalysis. And Weizenbaum was like, no, I just wanted to show off my tech. Never again chatbots. But for me, of course, it was like the biggest motivation I could get. Because if a rule-based chatbot living in a wooden computer in 1964 could establish an emotional connection with a user, that would be a no-brainer when using GPT and the latest AI technology of the 2020s. And that keyword of anthropomorphization also got me into deeper research about the ethics of placing a emotionally connective chatbot in front of more or less random users. And there I found the principle of honest anthropomorphism, which was proposed by I think she's a legal scientist, legal researcher, Margot Kaminsky. And she also found that chatbots and robots can make humans feel like a relationship exists, and therefore like privacy concerns, because if you trust a robot, you might disclose your deepest secrets. And they also researchers found that, for example, for citizens, they had like these fluffy little seal toy robots, which would be there like to monitor if the senior has taken their pills and goes to bed early enough, and those things were so nice and cuddly that the senior citizens told them all their passwords and affairs and everything. And of course, if you have something like super cuddly, nice, sweet, sympathetic, and you aren't less and less aware of the fact that actually talking to the corporation hosting that chatbot in the back or that robot, and that's why we followed the anthropomorphism, which calls for robot designers should not use anthropomorphism to deliberately mislead users to privacy practices. If anything, roboticists should explore using anthropomorphic features to provide better notice to users of what a robot is actually doing. And this is like one of the main reasons for us not only to describe in our tagline that we serve engaging AI exclamation mark conversations in social VR, but it made us also choose the appearance of our chatbot as a robot, which like hints at its soul being driven by AI and not being like a 3D scan of a human. But also that was not the only reason for us to choose the robot appearance, but also the prevention of the uncanny valley effect. So the uncanny valley effect is like we all follow this instinctively, like all PC VR and heavy hitter VR users instinctively choose like either furries or robots or dogs or whatever non-human avatars. And that's because of Masahiro Mori's, a Japanese roboticist's discovery in 1970. So he found that our affinity for robots or non-player characters in games or in VR increases if they appear more like a human, but shortly before it reaches 100% human likeness, we as onlookers fall into an uncanny valley, like a feeling of eeriness and disgust. And this is based in evolutionary roots. So those species survived which knew when to keep away from a weird appearance. So if somebody is like staring at you, like my cat does before it jumps at me, they might attack you. So we are the ones who survived, who like instinctively don't like to be stared at and rather get away from that entity. And the same goes for transmissible diseases. So if you see somebody with glassy eyes or somebody like Elizabeth Holmes who's not blinking, it's like weird and you don't want to catch a bug. And therefore, like we're like our instincts train us to stay from like 99.9%. And while the uncanny valley effect is even enforced if the avatar is moving, you can also like see on the picture up there that like my self-designed anime girl avatar is like much more sympathetic than the incredibly 3D scan. So that was a nice promo action on how those nice, detailedly made, expensive 3D scans gifted. But nobody's stuck in there longer than 2 minutes for thank you and showcase purposes because it was just so weird. Let's move on with my research. What I also researched was the immersive design in general for virtual environments and in particular for chatbots in VR. And I was so lucky to be able to pose my research question, which basically was, what should I take in creating an AI-driven chatbot for social VR? And I was back in the pandemic, everything happened online, and so I could, during Q&As, like hit my favorite researchers with exactly that question. And one I met on an online panel was Mel Slater, and he immediately responded like, take care of the non-player character plausibility, the illusion that the events that are perceived to be happening in VR are really happening. And we did so by putting like lots of effort into our talking and idle animation. So a big shout out and thank you to Gillifix, because like the predecessor platform didn't have no animation system in desktop mode. And so we had to build it from scratch. And Gillifix used his MetaGen as a recording tool. And I enacted the animations myself. And so being a filmmaker, and self-aware, I knew like if I only go like, okay, now I do talking, and now I do idle. This is gonna appear super staged. So I asked Gillifix, please run the recording tool and talk with me like for 10 minutes do a conversation with me, have like some laughing bits, some jokes in there, to have some whatever philosophical argument topics in there, get me gesture in all kinds of ways. And then we had like a stream, like 10 minutes of myself, like moving in that the non-textured robot avatar, and with like natural movement. After 2 minutes, I forgot that we were recording, and we then indexed those to like idle and talking animations. And now, like audio triggered, like whenever there is an audio signal, like our chatbot is talking now, it jumps really one of the talking segments and plays back the animation forward and backward as long as the audio signal goes on. And when it then transforms to listening, Resonite has this wonderful morphing feature, so we didn't even need to put the hands in the same place, but then it jumps to like with the morphing transition, it jumps to some idle segment and then plays back the listening times. And this is like a really thank you, Gillifix. Really nice way of solving that issue, and also a nice way of having it non-repetitive, because that always also like breaks if like standard animations are too short, and I always do the same hand gesture, and this is like prevented also by the random approach. So thanks, Gillifix. And Gillifix had also a fantastic idea by himself, which totally matched up with a Mel Slater recommendation, which was like keep eye contact with the user. So Gillifix implemented a script that our bartender is always looking at the nearest user, keeping eye contact, but also randomly glances in the void sometimes, which prevents the uncanny valley effect. And so we are like, yep, I'm really happy. I think we did a good job with like putting Mel Slater's recommendations to reality. And now I have my other favorite researcher, who is Janet Murray, a media and literature scientist from New York City. And like she wrote a groundbreaking book on immersion back in, I think, even the 80s, Hamlet on the Holodeck, Bible. And also her, I got to ask my research question in a. So what should I take into account when creating an AI chatbot for VR? And she immediately replied, take care of the onboarding and the debriefing as an entrance and an exit mark at the end of a story. And yes, the entrance was like a no-brainer for me. So for once, we need like a place where to put like all the controls explanations, because this were like still the PCVR days where each controller had like different buttons which would have different functionalities on the platform. And something which I think is in general super important when creating immersive environments is I needed something where to put the credit boards. So that's so easy in 2D media. You can sources in the corner of your slide, or in a movie you have like the road in the end. But where do you want to put them if you're in an immersive world where you don't want to have any UI, any disturbing features? And so I was like, okay, a rival platform, be my guest, be my host for our credit. And what was also nice was, back from my film school days, I'm a big fan of the other Bible, a hero with 1,000 faces, or in other words, The Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell, which he researched like all kind of mythological fairy tales, religious tales, but also psychoanalysis. And he found that any good story we have has like this hero's journey circle, where the hero first is in his like, nice but boring little village. Then they get a call to adventure. Then they go into the cave of the dragon, master obstacles with some help, slaughter the dragon, and come back with a reward. So for narrative writing, Hero's Journey is a really great recipe. And so I was also like happy when like building involved to actually create like this step of the hero's journey, the crossing of the threshold, like when the hero goes from his like common boring home world into the adventure world. And so we actually have like a bridge which you need to cross to approach the bartender, and the welcoming platform gives you also like a nice long shot view of our quantum computer floating in space. And so the onboarding welcoming platform basically was a given, but which was much harder to come up with was how do I do an end of the story. Also like I didn't want, because we for like memory enforcement reasons, so that the bartender can remember everything of the conversation, we could only afford a maximum conversation length of 10 minutes. And then I had like the other problem. I didn't want the bartender to appear like a bad psychotherapist who goes like, okay, our 10 stop. But luckily, once I got back into this whole Joseph Campbell raving, I found inspiration from him again, which was and is to issue a summary card as a reward for the user. And so we also use GPT's summary capabilities to then print the summary of the conversation on a virtual card to be stored in the inventory, or in real life we give out like really nice paper postcards. And this is how the card looks like. And give a big shout out to the team again. So Marius Creoles Anga, our CTO and backend coder, Guillermo Gillifix Vale Perez, our AI guru and animations specialist, Gerard Circuitry Bit, the Protoflux guru, and Alexander Alien in Area 51. Grober, who has so much help with the optimization and showed me what we all can, where we can save one more polygon to make the world as performant as possible. and also who came later on board. A shout out to Sonja Supersonics Unger, who is our event manager and always does like a great setup and fantastic community work in real life and in VR. And now I also have like a little look on how the future of the quantum bar will look like. So we're so happy to have found a steady home Resonate, so we will never ever leave here, but we want to expand the quantum bar. So for once, I'd like to showcase the history of AI chatbots in VR by keeping Quantum, who is like really the grandfather of AI chatbots in VR, like worldwide, the first one, even before Replica did their VR thing. And so in order to keep up the memory, like how was it, how is it, I want to keep Quantum like in his early original setup, and also like in the meantime we use GPT 3.5 Turbo, but it's also like interesting to use like one of the older models, which a little bit dumber, but I think it's a little bit easier to direct them, and you don't run into problems with the OpenAI weather so often, because like if you use ChatGPT, you can see it's like every 2 weeks it got a different personality, and so the like an old VW rabbit car GPT-3 whatever runs like a rock. But we'd also love to implement like a new bartender, this time a girl, a barmaid, and have that running on the latest models, maybe by OpenAI, or maybe like some competition model, also to have like a comparison in the bar that users can see, like, okay, this is how it started, this is how it's going, this is how are doing it. And we also want to expand on our AI functionality. So what we got already working as a prototype, but where we still need a Resonate is a 3D object generation. So you can order food or drinks, and then get your pizza or your pina colada. My only challenge currently is that the models come in as that by point E, like 3 times as big as they're supposed to be, and 90 degrees tilted. So any Resonate mod specialists, can I invite you for a coffee or beer, please? And another dream is also like to implement music generation, so that users can ask for their favorite music genre. Because I'm still really happy with the jazz track we found originally, because it doesn't drive me crazy even after 3 years. But it would be nice, like for the EDM lovers, to have some techno beats, and for rock and rollers to have some electric guitars or something. And we also want to expand on the sentiment detection functionality, which currently is more or less a proof of concept. So the dialogue lines, pink lights, set serious dialogue lines, blue lines. But it would be nice to even amp that up, maybe base it also on like some color psychology, to maybe even go like the opposite direction. Like if you have like a super hyped, excited user, to go more blue and green, like in surgery rooms or in airplanes, to calm them down. And maybe if you have somebody where you can detect that they are sad and slow, to give them like more orange and reddish colors to wake up the circulation. That would be interesting. And yeah, and I'm so happy here. Yeah, hopefully work together with the Resonite community. So my dream would also be to save a new world and host like building brainstorm sessions where we give building rights to, and like brainstorm and build together what could be improved, funded, made even more colorful with our quantum bar. And now, very last not least, that starts to mark the end of my talk. I got some links for you. So for once, with the Quantum Bar, every last Friday of the month, we hold our monthly mingle. So the month starting at 10 p.m. Central European, which is 4 p.m. Eastern, which is 1 p.m. Pacific time. We open the Quantum Bar for a nice get-together. And if it gets too wild and we crash, we start the world again. And it's always a joy to have everybody here. And also, my master's thesis, I'm so happy, has been published in the Transcript Independent Academic House. And if you want to support independent academia, you can even buy like a printed out hard copy. But what's so nice about that publisher is that they also offer a downloadable version for free. And this is like a Gaming the Metaverse anthology. So I'm in good company with awesome academic papers on metaverse technology and research. For example, my favorite one, Janet Murray, has a paper in there, or also Jessie Chell, who is like a great game studies researcher. And the Quantum Bar is among these cool big academics, and even made it to the front page of the book. And also, I want to give a great shout out, share the links of the educators of Resonite, on whose YouTube and whose Twitch channel these talks are being streamed and can be rewatched. And the same goes for, thank you so much, Miss Molly, and thank you so much, Metaverse Academia. And please bookmark their Twitch and YouTube channel too. And Metaverse Academia is also like this wonderful hub for new and interested and old and interested users. And Thank you so much for having me, Molly. And what's this? Yeah, and yeah, the links can also be found and can be saved to the inventory on the boards at the entrance. And yeah, for now, I jump back to a more colorful slide in case we want to do a photo or yeah. Let's have the bartender watch over us while I say thank you for your attention. Molly, thank you so much for having me. Jason, thank you so much for everything.
Yay. All right.
I have to ask somebody.
Okay, that concludes part 1 of the presentation. One more big round of applause for Xaos. You can watch and share this video once it's uploaded and edited on both Metaverse Academia YouTube channel and the Educator channel. Now, I'd like to open the floor to some questions, both our audience here in Resonate and also our audiences watching on Twitch. If you're here with us, just raise your appendage and try to grab my attention, and I'll call on you. Please, when I call on you, put your voice mode into shout mode. That is the yellow icon on your microphone selection, and there's a handy little card over here if you're new to Resonate and need to do that. And Twitch chat, go ahead and type your questions into Twitch, and I will come out from Twitch and ask them to Xaos. So here we go. I think we have a question. Looks like it's from Madiator 2011. Go ahead, Madiator.
So in my case, it's like, do you ever plan to kind of release the project as a part of open source? So the open source community can help expand the bartender engine to support more things. I would love to see implementing visual detection, so bartender could like see what is happening, or for example detect how the user looks, and then use it to interact with the other person.
Yeah, that's all that on the slide. That would be the huge dream. So this is a main question I have to discuss with Creolis, who is the main author of the and also a huge open source supporter. So the chances are very high, but I can't decide that on my own.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Yes, I see you over here, Venom Sante. I can't quite see your name because my vision's not that good.
That's all right. That's okay. I'm just curious about, so with like the data transfer, when the question's put through to the bartender, does the user make much of a difference in regards to the latency? Obviously, your example used someone who was still in the States. So would someone closer to your server the question much quicker? I can imagine it'd be marginal, but I'm just curious about how that works.
It's more or less marginal, because the actual traveling time is, well, I'd need to recalculate that. I know that from in firma terms, it's 2 frames, so it's 2/25ths of a second what it takes. So not very much. So I guess the so what's more concerning is like the whole triggering, like if there's like a waiting line at OpenAI, it's always like also like depending on the digital weather in San Francisco. So like, for example, like once we had it when OpenAI did an update, and we crashed every second talk, and we were on a conference, and I was like, whenever a new user came in, I was like, okay, I'm gonna restart the whole thing just to be safe. So that's more the drag, and what's also a bit of a catch-22 with a lag, which OpenAI needs to address in their talk app as well, is how long do you create the listening times? Because at least signal flow, at some point we have to say, okay, now we take that audio file so and so many seconds and have it transcribed. And you can also like have like the microphone or the recording shut down as soon as the audio trigger ends. But the problem is then that you also want to give the user the possibility of an afterthought. Like, I had breakfast today. It's delicious. So that was like one of our most to a circle development fiddlings to say like, okay, how much longer do we adjust the listening times? And I think we now chose like 1.2 seconds, because on the one hand it allows for an afterthought, on the other hand it prolongs the lag. So that's always, you have some catch-22 with the
Thank
lag.
you very much.
Really interesting. Okay, any other questions from the crowd? Yes, I see a question. Looks like it.
Well.
Yeah, I think that's. Or
it's Sticks.
yes, Sticks
Yes.
first, and then Dr. Sai. I think that was Dr. Sai.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sticks.
It was very interesting to hear about sort of the narrative element of how you're constructing your environment. I was always curious, really, like what the quantum bar actually was. Like, why did you pick that shape? Why did you pick that particular sort of form? It's sort of like this very tall sort of tower, sort of like spark plug looking thing. Like, is there any sort of like other narrative element that you're trying to sort of convey other than this sort of like bridging from sort of like the regular metaverse into this sort of space where you're communicating with this AI? Is there anything else about the environment that, or things that you want to do in the future in terms of environmental narration?
So that also goes back to like immersive psychology reasons. Like my very first question was like, what character will I use as a chatbot? And I faced the challenge that the chatbot couldn't have long-term memory. So now it would be possible, but being in Europe, it would be like a privacy concerns hell to give the bot in a long-term memory. So I needed a character which on the one hand would have like intimate talks with their guests or users, but on the other hand, be forgiven if they wouldn't remember your name the next time you jump in. And so there were some suggestions on the table, like, let's do a hairdresser or a hotel receptionist. But then yet again, like a big heartfelt agenda of mine is also events producing in real life and even more in VR. So then became pretty clear. Nah, let's do a bartender. Let's do a bar. And once we got that, I also like dug into There I got lots of inspiration from Janet Murray, but also Mel Slater, Bailenson, like which was like, okay, how do I build the environment? And one very interesting finding on immersion research is that people are rather dragged out of the immersion if they are in a supposedly realistic room, but then some details don't add up to their real reality. So if you would have built like a real life diners, people would rather go like, yeah, but why can't I work the tap, or where are the tissues, or why aren't the windows reflecting, la 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 la. So so instead of trying to build something realistic but still failing at it, because on the other hand you need to optimize the world, it's recommended to rather opt for a fantastic environment. And I have to be honest, the rest was more or less like personal taste. So I love like industrial style bars, like also in real life. Anything you put into an old factory, I'm like, yeah, favorite place, bunker, anything industrial with a bar counter in it is like my favorite club. So I knew, let's find some industrial design. And at the same time, I saw like the first image ever of a quantum computer in the TV show Devs. And I remember that I was like, okay, yeah, very interesting show, sticks to reality a lot. But the set designers really were designing that quantum computer. Like they also had like the big thing there. And then I found out, those things look like that in real life. I was like, okay, you're gonna be my bar. And so I got like a realistic quantum computer model, and built like the bar counter around the middle column, and somehow I also like the message of it, because like once we get like quantum computers working for consumer measurements like AI, we're gonna be like a whole new level.
Okay, Dr. Cy Cortex.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Xaos Princess. Very interesting project, very futuristic. I'm actually an AI researcher, and so GPT-3 is a large language model, or LLM, and they're, we talk about them as foundation models for language. They're trained on broad data sets to allow us to model a range of different tasks. The AI community is also working on embodied cognition foundation models, which we would consider as like world models, for understanding the world. And in fact, some of the lack of common sense that we see in LLMs originates from this lack of a world model. So, a lot of it's being done for robotics, but also Meta is hiring many AI researchers in this area in the last year or so. So we're thinking about adding things like capability for, general 3D, ability to act in a 3D world, control complex bodies in a complex way, cognitive models to represent goals beyond language. So what are your feelings about how things could evolve, for your project or more broadly in the metaverse with this rapid development of AI in these directions? Transitioning from, chatbot. Actually, a chatbot, I find that a little bit demeaning. How do we try, as we're moving towards a general virtual intelligence, what features are missing? you mentioned long-term memory. So there's a lot of questions in there, but I just wanted to hear your thoughts on those things.
Okay, how much time do we have?
We have 2 minutes. 2 minutes for this question.
Okay, for once, it's also with mediators inspiration for like giving our bartender or a resonate entity more agency and also more passive features. So a really big dream of mine, for which I have like a one-pager, but which probably would be like, quite a lot of effort, would be, to put really like an agent who is not only a chatbot, but also has like vision, has the goal to build a world, can interact with the users into at first empty Resonate world, and have then users help him to build a universe. So and really to have like really all AI functionality combined to have like a really living, evolving being. That would be like the huge dream.
Well, you're not gonna put Medra out of a job.
No, never.
Okay, all right, don't do that,
How
please.
could I?
Medra, we can't replace it with AI.
Certainly not.
And so this like for the pure platform thing, for AI technology in general, I hope that the evolution of AI goes into the direction you just proposed, because at the moment I'm actually like a bit scared of like that internet theory meeting newer models being trained yet again on the internet, but now the internet is like 60% AI made. So like with our current technology, I fear that the newer models are trained on like Chinese AI whispers, and that we might at this very moment have like the peak of human knowledge history combined in LLM. And like if the technology doesn't find something new, find something self-reflective, find some means to make AIs capable of understanding context,
Yes.
we could end up with some puddle of AI generated novels. So really,
maybe a quick follow-up question. You mentioned Neuromancer, though. Like, if that's it's a great dream. I share that dream to some extent, but I'm a little torn also. Like, that's the advent of a general intelligence, and what did Neuromancer tell us about that?
That was like my original dream also for our bartender was, and also with the Resonate, I want to have like an agent in here project, is an AI entity as living, evolving, maybe they're even sentient. I wouldn't like totally exclude that possibility to have that, but somehow at the moment I think we're at like a weird place also it's like the original GPT-3 models. For me, they had more of a soul, even if it sometimes was an evil one. But now we are trying, and we have to try to solve the alignment problem. But the solving efforts are also like what I said. Why I prefer like older models, because it's like OpenAI, like in the GPT-3 waiting list, people died because they couldn't afford a second tie, which was the Twitter chatbot by Microsoft, which went to be a Nazi within 5 hours and had to be cold shut off. So and you could do that with. So when we got the first access, we did just for fun, like you're Donald Trump squared. Now talk to us. And then we went like, what do you think of children? Children should be eliminated. They don't contribute anything to society. And of course, that would have been like a PR disaster, or it was like also very anti-Semitic and anti-feminist, and then on. And so they like whitelisted who got access. So and I only got access because I got like a letter of intent of the university, and because with the help of the community, I made a tweet of mine to Greg Brockman viral. But it was super hard to get access, and then for the newer models, they aligned it. So now everybody can get access, but now it's, even for my taste, almost too woke. And now you have like these things that, certain questions, like if I want to know something about whatever breast cancer prevention, I have to hit a lucky week when this is allowed, and I don't know. And that's the challenge with working like with OpenAI models in real time, that you never know what content filter weights they currently put on or not.
Okay, we have time for one more question, and I'm going to take a question from chat. This is from Rampa3. Hosting your own inference engine. Nowadays, it can run from a more or less normal PC. Run my own local API, which sure is dumber and slower than OpenAI, but cannot just drop out because of third party. Plus, it's fully private and free. With good GPU, you could get acceptable local.
Let's say do it as a real commercial project, and where you also need to meet GDPR conditions, which is even stricter for Europeans, and like with me also being like a privacy fighter, to run locally. But on the other hand, with that model, how one Quantum Bar currently, which is like, every last Friday of the month, or now for the World Cup, be our guests, but I don't earn any money or any user fees with it. So now it's more a private friend-to-friend endeavor, and for that base, I really like to plug into OpenAI, because then on the other hand, it also like gives you the latest tech. Like with OpenAI, you always know they are the state of the art, and then the other's gonna pick up. But would I do something to be put on the Quest store or onto Steam? I definitely run a local model.
Okay, thank you. Okay, everybody, that wraps up our Q&A session. Part 2 of this presentation will happen in just a few minutes. Xaos will spawn out a world orb of the quantum bar and invite anybody who wants to join to go say hi to the bartender. But first, as is tradition at these Maker Talks, we'd like to invite everybody on stage with Xaos for one picture to commemorate this fun little adventure that we just went on. So come on up on stage, everybody. I think Dave, our resident photographer, will probably take a picture for us. And after we take that picture, we will get going on the World Hop. Oh, I've got 15 frames. Doing pretty good. Smaller avatars down in front.
It's always when somebody opens Vector, I think.
Yeah. Or we're getting people joining too, maybe. All right, I'm going out. Hey, Dave, actually, I'm going to stay in shot for a sec. Dave, will you take our picture? Oh, here he comes.